face the flag, and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Schlupto, could we have the roll call, please?
Allen,
Here?
Gesund,
Here.
Krug,
Here.
Ward, Hanchett, Evans,
Here.
Butts,
Here.
and McAlpine.
Here.
What about me?
Yeah.
Euler, sorry.
Euler.
Euler.
Okay, well, we do have a quorum. We are 7 members. We have a full board tonight. And let the record show that alternate Maria Ward is in the audience as well, attending. Okay, we have an agenda before us. Are there any suggested changes or modifications, either from members of the board or staff? Okay, and I do understand from Ms. Schlupto, there was a case that originally was going to be on this agenda, but it was removed. Could you just give a brief overview in case there's any members of the public either here tonight or perhaps watching on TV later?
Yes, of course. We received an application for a lot, a very dimensional variance for lot size. At that time, we proceeded with a public hearing notice both in the newspaper and notice to all the applicant or the property owners within 300 feet per the state statute. Upon recent discovery, we saw in the ordinance that any lot that had been created prior to the adoption of the ordinance that was non-conforming did not require variance for any type of building. So the applicant had been proposing to demo the existing single-family home on that lot and build a new one. Upon that, the discovery that they did not require a variance, we let them know that their presence here was not required.
Excellent. And what was, do you recall the location, the address?
It is 1864 Dorothea.
1864 Dorothea. Okay, well, thank you for that summary. Just in case anybody's watching or wondering, perhaps they got a notice and wonder why it didn't show up on the agenda and the board didn't do anything. Okay. Any suggested changes to the agenda from anyone else? I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and support. Ms. McAlpine with the motion, Mr. Allen with support. Any discussion? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Krug,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Butts,
Yes.
Gesund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes. Motion passes. And before I go any further, I'm going to just go back to roll call, even though I'd like to welcome our new Community Development Director, Aaron Schlupto, to the employee of the city. And this is your first board meeting.
Yeah, this is.
Any comments for us?
I'm very excited to be here. I've been a planner for the past 4.5 years. I've previously worked with McKenna and Associates, and I've worked in communities all over Southeast Michigan. I'm a local area resident, not in Berkeley, but one of the surrounding communities, and I've been very privileged to watch this community grow, and I'm very excited to be here.
Excellent.
Very good.
Welcome aboard.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Our next item is the approval of the July 8th, 2019 minutes. We've all received a draft. And did anyone have any comments on what it says in there?
Just one, on the approval of the minutes. I moved to approve the minutes, and it was supported by Ms. McAlpine, and neither one of us appear on the 8th.
Gotcha. Okay.
Nothing big, really.
There's 2 Krugs, too. And the
Oh, you got to vote twice.
Yeah, look at
That's
that.
right. I didn't even see
My
that.
body
double was
vote twice, too.
So we've got some typographical changes on that one, okay? On page 2, the middle where it said no vote was required on this discussion item, just a typo. I think it should say no vote was required.
Same thing on the eyes on the second page. Two Crows.
Where's that at, Mr.?
The vote under the elections.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
Postponement of the elections.
I got
Okay.
dropped off. Yeah.
So Mr. Allen's also needs to be included on there. All righty.
Oh, and I'm twice on there, too.
Oh, yeah, you're twice again on that.
Cutting and pasting, right? And I have one more comment under elections. I made the comment of the regular duties of the chair. Perhaps that could be reworded specifically to say that the chair would be a member of the master plan steering committee. I just think it's important to have a little specificity there in regards to what additional duties might be to chair. Any further changes? Okay.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of Monday, July 8th as corrected.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Schluchto.
Allen,
Yes?
Butts,
Yes.
Gesund,
Yes.
Uller,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Krug,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes. Okay, our next item is an application for a variance for 2219 Coolidge. And Ms. Schluchto, do you have a brief summary of the case?
Thank you very much. I'd like to reference my September 1st, 2019 review letter for case number PBA-03-19. It's for the La Salette redevelopment. The applicant, 2219 Coolidge LLC, is proposing to redevelop the former La Salette School. The applicant is seeking dimensional variances for the side yard setback and height of the existing building. The non-conforming structure does not conform to the development standards in the RM district. Just a little bit of background for you. The subject property is currently, as of this moment, zoned office district. The property is currently going through conditional rezoning through Planning Commission and City Council. They've had their Planning Commission, their public hearing. The Planning Commission recommended approval to the City Council. The City Council has had their first required reading and will have their second required meeting at the September meeting. So part of their conditional rezoning agreement was that the applicant would seek these variances for the nonconformities of the side yard setback and the height of the existing building. So the standards for review in section 138-606, as I reference on page 3 of my review letter, there are 5 items, and I'll go over them a little bit here. Letter A, the need for the variance is due to unique circumstances or physical conditions of the property. The existing facility was legally conforming when it was constructed, but it has become non-conforming as the ordinances and regulations have been changed and amended since the 1940s. The building was constructed in 1943. It was, per records, it was closed after the 2012-2013 academic year. B, the need for the variance is not the result of actions of the property owner or the previous property owners. The need for these variances is not self-created, as the property was developed conforming to the previous zoning standards at that time. The non-existing or the non-conforming structure can continue as provided that the ZBA grants these variances this evening. Letter C, strict compliance with the ordinance will unreasonably prevent the property owner from using the property for a permitted purpose or will render conformity with those regulations unnecessarily burdensome. Per the conditional rezoning agreement, if these variances are not granted, then the redevelopment of the La Salette project cannot move forward as it currently is. They would have to then redevelop the entire structure and bring it into conformity. This would create an undue burden hardship on the applicant, as they would have to then redevelop the entire site and not redevelop an existing property and structure that has been beloved and known in this community for many years. Letter D, the requested variance is the minimum variance necessary to do substantial justice to the applicant as well as other property owners. There is no other variance that the applicant could seek. This is the minimum because it is just to bring the non-conforming structure into conformity. So they're not asking to increase the setback or to increase the area or to increase the height any further than it already is. They're just asking to bring what they have into conformity as is. And letter E, the requested variance will not adversely impact the surrounding properties. As I noted before, the structure has been in existence since 1943, so there would be no additional adverse impacts upon the neighboring properties because it's been there since 1943. For this variance to be approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals, it would need to meet all the standards of Section 138-606 of the zoning ordinance, as I have just explained. Due to the finding of the fact that the structure will not be increasing in height or side yard setback or area, the city would recommend approval of the height and the side yard setback variance for the subject property as proposed.
Excellent.
If you have any questions, I'd be happy to
Very
answer.
thorough.
Great report, thank you.
Do any board members have any questions for staff?
I have one.
Mr. Jason?
In the request, it lists that the height at I think it's the gondola, is 31 feet, and that the roof height is 51 feet. Would it be necessary to get the variance for the 51 feet or the 30?
Well, it would be, the chimney would be the highest point.
Okay.
It's 39 feet is to the top of the parapet, and the way that the roof is constructed, it's from grade to the top of the parapet.
Okay.
So you would be granting the variance to the top of the parapet, but also allowing for the height for the chimney.
Okay.
And just to piggyback on that, certainly the way it exists as shown here as well as what it's like now is what, if this board's inclined to grant a variance, that's what we're being asked to do. So whatever may be over the height now, this wouldn't be if the board were to approve it. Carte blanche to say, go ahead and raise the whole thing to 51 feet.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay. Is the applicant here?
Yes, his bodyguards.
Well, sir, if you could just step up to the microphone, tell us who you are, your involvement with the project, and...
Hi, my name is Steve Friedman. I'm the developer of the project, and we've been going at this for quite a while, and the good news is we're at this point. We've gotten the Planning Commission of the Council to go along with our proposed plan that we think will be very exciting as a conversion for the city, provide some necessary rental housing, and we're very excited about it. So we would appreciate it if we can get the variance so we can move this thing forward and get started as soon as possible.
Okay. Anything to add over and above what your application shows?
No, not at this point.
Great. Okay. Do any members of the board have any questions for the applicant? Seeing none. Have you had an opportunity to see and review the city report?
I have.
Okay. And do you believe that as far as you can tell, the representations made there, outside of the opinions of the city, do they appear factual?
They do.
Okay. Great. Okay.
Very good.
We'll seek no further comments from the board. We'll ask you to take a seat, and I'll open up
Thank you.
public comment. Thank you. Well, this is the time now for any members of the public, if they'd like to speak on this request, can approach the board and tell us what you think. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on this matter? I don't see any members of the public who'd like to speak. I'll bring it back to the board just to check with staff. Did the city receive any written correspondence in regards to our notices?
We did not.
Great, okay. Well, with that being said, I'll close the public hearing, and I'll turn it back over to the board for discussion and potential motion. Mr. Butts.
I consider this ready for a motion.
Okay. Yeah, two. I'm seeing concurrence from 4 members. We do need at least 4 positive votes for approval.
Without repeating everything that Aaron has commented here, and, I don't see any reason to not approve this, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. We have
Citing A, B, C, D, and E. on the report.
So you're citing the findings of the report?
I think they're legitimate.
Okay.
I'll support that.
Motion and support by Mr. Allen. Any discussion? And I would concur with the report as well in the motion. I think the report is spot on and definitely is very accurate in regards to the practical difficulty that's being shown for this unique circumstance.
I'd like to add, if I could, I really appreciate the thoroughness that Aaron went through on this. There were no questions that were unanswered in that report.
Made my motion real short.
No, and that's a good thing. Excellent.
Very good.
Yes. Any further discussion? I think we're ready for a roll call.
Butts?
Yes.
Gazund?
Yes.
Euler?
Yes.
McAlpine?
Yes.
Krug?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes?
Evans?
Yes. Congratulations, you have your variance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Welcome.
Okay, our next item is discussion on the rules of procedure. We first addressed these at our last meeting, and staff has provided a red line cross out of the requested changes. And one of the reasons why we didn't vote on them at last meeting is there were some members here who were regular members that weren't present, and so the thought was to postpone the matter. So, we could see the red line version here, and also to have some availability for the members who weren't able to make it at the last meeting. So with that, I'll open up to any discussion. Any comments regarding the proposed changes?
I think most of the changes that we discussed and agreed upon have been captured here in this document. I don't see.
That's my thoughts exactly.
Okay.
Are we going to plan on having another election as soon as January already, or should we just carry this over
That was my question as well.
rather than have a 4-month term? We could possibly extend this?
The terms are a year, and I don't know if you can go beyond a year with the terms. You can be less than a year, but I don't think that you can go beyond. I could be incorrect, but
Well, I think that's a legitimate consideration, just to have some discussion.
yeah.
What section was that in again, Mr. Butts?
Section 4, it's item number 1, page 5.
Page 5, thanks. Well, just speaking from someone who currently is the chair, I don't see any, I would have no concern with having another vote in January. I know one of the things that were mentioned in the last meeting, in the discussion for our next item, elections, was that perhaps we had a member who was brand new, and they didn't have any opportunity to even interact with the board to determine who they thought might be best for chair or vice chair. So that was one of the reasons why it was postponed. But I have no reason or issue with acting on it tonight, and then proceeding to have another vote in January. And that'll get us on track for a year. But just my thought.
I would just question, Aaron, I don't know if we have applications for October, but I would just say, if we don't have any, let's say we should not have meetings for the next 3 months, then I don't believe we need to still redo the election? Because it says that the officers will take place at the next meeting after the election. So my question would be, if we voted today and for some reason we didn't have 3 more meetings, then would you go with Section 1 that says there's another election in January, or would you go to Section 3 regarding tenure that says the officers shall take place at the next meeting after the election?
Well, I can give you my opinion. I guess if that happens, that might be a bridge to cross if we get there.
Yeah, and I don't know, I
Yeah.
don't know if we want to have clarification.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can give a clear answer then. If it happens, it happens.
Okay.
And maybe we can address it at the time. And it appears, based on the red line version for the annual review section, in Section 7, one of the reasons we'll also meet in January is to make that the annual day, or an annual month of looking at the rules of procedure. So perhaps knowing that there could be two important items in the January meeting, maybe that would just make a good reason to go ahead and meet. And I guess if someone's not seated, I'm not sure what really seating involves. I mean, you just
Yeah,
come to the
I
January
mean,
meeting, you sit down, you know?
I doubt we will have nothing to discuss in the next 3 months, but
Sure. Well, that's my thought,
Yeah.
for what it's worth.
And it reads clean, you don't have to put beginning in January of 2021, or 2020, you know. And I think, like you said, Paul, if we need to address it and walk through it at that time, we can do that, but this is pretty clean language.
Any other comments? I have one. I gave it some thought to on page 2, near the bottom, where we talked about duties and where you contact the chair, community development director. I'm going to propose that we remove the chair because it says and or. I mean, ultimately, certainly staff, I think most importantly, needs to be aware if we're going to have some absences in regards to preparing the board, as well as knowing what signs to put out, and letting whoever's going to be the chair for the meeting know that, you know, if we don't have 7 people up here, how things work. In addition, it's possible, City Hall's open all the time. It's possible the chair might not already know they're not attending the meeting. Well, it's getting a,
You're not open all the time?
Thank you, well put. So with that being said, I would propose that we just remove the chair and say community development director on that.
I think
that's a good change.
I'll go with that.
Yep.
That leaves on you, Aaron.
I accept.
With that being said, I don't have anything else to add. Anything else from any of the members? And Ms. Schluchto, you're clear on the proposed change to the change for item section 2A?
Yes, I'm just reviewing to make sure there's not another area where it was the chair or community development director somewhere else
Gotcha.
in here.
Okay.
Okay. I don't see it anywhere else, so yes, I will make those changes.
Okay.
Very good.
All right, well, with that being said, I think we're ready for a motion.
I would make a motion that we approve our rules and procedures updated date of September 2019, as provided by staff.
We have motion and support by Mr. Butts. Motion by Ms. McAlpine. Any discussion? Ms. Schluchto.
Gesund,
Yes.
Uller,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Krug,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes?
Butts,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes. Okay. Well done, board. I like these changes. Not that you need to hear it from me, but. Okay. Elections. And this matter was postponed from last month, the matter of electing a chair and vice chair to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I guess I'll start off by saying I'm still interested in being chair. I'm ready to take on the responsibility of the Master Plan Steering Committee with that role. However, and I still agree with this, I do think it's important that if people want the opportunity to become chair, vice chair, that they consider it. I found it an excellent learning experience, and I've been staffing zoning boards for 15 or 20 years, but when you're sitting up here, it's definitely a different experience and very worthwhile.
Yep.
So with that being said, that's my personal thought on this matter. Any other comments from any members of the board for chair or vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Paul Evans for chair for the next year. And I like the fact that there is consistency moving into this master plan process, and I think we'll be well represented.
Support.
We have a motion and support for Paul Evans as chair. Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, I'm at a different meeting, I'm sorry. Ms. Schlupto.
Uller,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Krug,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes?
Butts,
Yes.
Gazund,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes. Well, thank you, board members, for your support. I appreciate it. And I want to say that you all helped make my job easier by keeping me on track and keeping things moving, so I appreciate that.
I make a motion to keep the continuity and retain Ms. McAlpine as vice chair.
Okay.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? And I'm presuming, Ms. McAlpine, you'll accept?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, hearing no further discussion, I think we're ready for a vote.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Krug,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes?
Butts,
Yes.
Gazund,
Yes.
Uller,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes. All right. Congratulations on your
Yes,
reappointment.
thank you, everyone.
In under half an hour.
Yes. And then our next item on the agenda is simply an update on the proposed 2019 meeting dates. And normally we meet on Mondays, but as we can see here, because the regular second Monday, November 11th, is Veterans Day, there's a meeting proposed for Tuesday, November 12th, 2019.
That is, if there's a case.
If there's a
We've
case.
had a couple of scheduled meetings with no cases.
Yes, and certainly
In my 20 years on this board, I've not seen that happen yet, so.
I have seen that happen in other communities, so.
Okay.
And I would just draw your attention, Monday, October 14th is Columbus Day. City Hall is open, but just in case if there are any personal conflicts with you or vacations.
Gotcha. Okay. Any comments or discussion on the proposed dates?
We're good. I'll propose, do we need a motion? Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the 2009 meeting dates as presented by staff.
I'll support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion?
Just a clarification, we're doing 7 PM, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did I put something else?
No, I just...
Oh, okay.
Didn't we have 7:30 for a little while, or was there talk of that?
It used to be.
It used to be 7:30.
Okay.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, I think we're ready for a vote.
Krug,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes?
Butts,
Yes.
Gazund,
Yes.
Uller,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes. Motion passes. Okay, next item, any other business? Do we have any other business, either from staff or members of the board? Mr. Gazund.
Not really other business, but I'd just like to mention that on Wednesday, we have a dedication of a new flag in front of the fire department. And that's also September 11th, which has become a celebrated national holiday. And Patriots Day. So everyone who would like to attend, please do. And that's it.
Thank you.
Just have one comment, and the comment is, through the whole La Salette redevelopment process, I've been accused of being anti-development. I am not anti-development. What I am is anti-things that aren't good for this community. And the previous plan was not good for this community. This new one is, and I support it fully.
Any other business from any members of the board or staff? Anything else we need to, that might have been left off? No?
I don't have
Okay.
anything.
Great. Liaison report, Councilmember Hennon, anything to report?
Yes, I have a few items. At our last meeting, council's last meeting, we received a report as part of a multi-community grant that we have with Oak Park and Huntington Woods, and held a discussion about potential future development on 11 Mile Road. We also received a report on the redevelopment ready community baseline report. So this is the first major step in looking at best practices in planning, zoning, and economic development in our city to encourage redevelopment and new investment. So we did pretty well on that baseline, but there's still a lot of work left to do for the city to, fully meet those requirements and get that certification. Council approved the first reading of a new ordinance to allow daycares as a special use in office and local business districts. And then, of course, the first reading of the rezoning of the Law Select property that we heard tonight.
Great.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the update. And I guess if I could tail into that, I thought as Councilmember Hennon was talking, Wednesday, I'll be coming to City Hall for 3 or 4 hours to sit with the Master Plan Committee, the steering committee. A couple months ago, the committee whittled it down to 3 top firms out of 7 that applied to do the master plan, and we're going to have an hour, roughly an hour for each firm to present to the committee, as well as any Q&A or however that might go. So I just want to let everybody know that that's moving along here this week.
That's good news.
Okay. All right. Now's the time for public comments. If there's any member of the public that would like to speak regarding any matter that is not on our agenda, please step up to the podium.
I just have one request, Maria Ward, 1838 Rosemont, that once the rules of procedure have been cleaned up, may we have a final copy so that we can use that for our own personal use.
I think we can do that. Thank you very much. And I also believe that there is a spot on the zoning board page that'll be published as well. So not only can it be distributed to members of the board and alternates, but if anybody wants to look at any time, they can do that as well.
If I may, that just reminded me of something.
Yes.
It was brought to my attention that several members of the ZBA may not have received the orientation packets when they took on these responsibilities. If I could see a show of hands of who hasn't received them, or would anybody like a refresher of a brand new packet?
Mine got lost in the flood.
Darn flood.
Ms. Ward, we see that your
Still
hand is up
haunting
as
us.
well. Very good. Okay.
Okay.
And it's possible, these are digital as well, right? Are they?
I can send everything electronically, and that kind of feeds into my next discussion is what you and I have discussed earlier is the Planning Commission, the City Council, a lot of them receive their packets electronically. We have them in a Google Dropbox. Would that be something that the Zoning Board of Appeals would like to see? We can still do the hard copies delivered to public safety if that's what you would prefer, but if you would also like the electronic copy, we can make sure that we do that moving forward.
I'm seeing several board members nod.
Yeah, I like that.
How would that work with full-size
Yeah, the
prints and
plans.
things?
We get electronic copies from all of the applicants, so they can get dropped into the Google Dropbox. It's easier than sending it in an email. Sometimes you're limited by the size of the email attachment that you can send, so a Google Dropbox is something that everyone could look at the same time. I would just say that you can't edit anything, because any edits that you would do, then it's not just saved to you. You can't comment on it. You would have to make notes or print them out and then mark them on a hard copy if you would like.
But if I'm not mistaken, just to piggyback on where I think you might be going with this, but hard copies would still be available.
Yes.
For example, we've got things of this size that certainly no computer screen, I think, at times can accurately give the level of detail.
Right, yes,
So we can
yeah,
have
there
both.
are, yeah. So we would still, if everyone would still like to receive the hard copies, we can still do that as well. And that way, every applicant is still required to submit the same number of plans and copies of everything that they are submitting.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I would
really,
think
we're reducing everything but the plan in the packet.
Well, you would still get the hard copy, you'd still get everything in there. It's just, you would then have the electronic copy. So if you wanted to look at it a little bit earlier, we could put things into the Dropbox as we receive them, so you know something is coming up, or before the packets are
Okay.
fully put
Okay.
together, if that would work well for you.
All right. And just piggybacking on that, I know the community I work for, City of Troy, ultimately when that, we put together one big PDF of all the pages of everything, you know, all the digital copies, and that allows members of the public to go ahead online if they want to download it, look at it at their house. Any plans to migrate perhaps in that direction so members of the public could look at it as opposed to having to come in and try to get, you know, not that they can if they want, but.
We do have our agendas and our packets available on the website as of
Excellent.
right now. Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. All right. All right. Seeing that there are no other members for public comments, I'll close that portion of the meeting, and I'll adjourn our September 9th meeting. Thanks, everybody, for showing up.
Thank you.
Thanks.